We are roughly 7 hours away from tip-off between BYU and Alabama for a spot in the Elite Eight. And to preview today's game, we thought we'd go all in on a fact or fiction edition of What's Trending. Jarom, a number of different topics. You guessed it. We'll decide if it's fact or fiction around these several topics. So let's begin with this. We've been talking about how high-scoring this game should be with two of the best offenses in the country. Fact or fiction? First team to 90 points wins the game.
I think if someone gets to 90, they probably win. So I'll say fact on this one. Bama, as mentioned yesterday, has gone 90 plus 19 times this season, Spence. BYU averages 81.2 points per game. Bob Morris held Bama to exactly 90. Held to 90.
I know, right?
90-81. I think if BYU defensively can play a similar game to what old Bob Morris did, they could be in this and perhaps even win. Let's go. BYU's got to play it in a way that caters to what they do. Now, Alabama does what BYU does, but on a really high level. Now, the thing is, like, if you look at the whole season in Alabama's numbers, you go, oh, yeah, way better than BYU. But like we've talked about, Spence, BYU's overall efficiency margin is better than Alabama's since February 12th. BYU's playing great ball. I know that Alabama plays in the best league in America, the SEC. We all admit it. We got 6 teams in the Sweet 16. They're great. But BYU can compete and win this game tonight because they can go toe-to-toe with Alabama's offense, we believe.
I want to say that when you get into those late game scenarios, and against Wisconsin, it was quite literally first to 90 wins the game. It was 91-89.
Yes.
But I believe – I want to say BYU wins like 98% of their games over the last 5 years when they lead with 2 minutes to go.
I'll address that later.
Okay. It's unbelievable how good they have been when they just have a lead. So I'll lean towards fact here, but it's more so, can BYU have a lead with 2 minutes left in this game and hold on? Because under Kevin Young, his ability to use timeouts at a very high level, went like shot clock's winding down, nothing's developing. He's so good at implementing his timeouts. His substitutions on the offensive and defensive side in late game scenarios, also high level. Like, that matters.
I'll give you a number that Post Jimmer put out this week from CBB Analytics. BYU's averaging 1.13 points per possession after timeouts.
That is so good.
It's really good. That's been a winning number for BYU. Okay, we're moving on to three-pointers. BYU makes more threes than Alabama. Fact or fiction tonight?
Well, because they average 0.4 more three-point makes than Alabama, it's 10.6 three-point makes per game to 10.2 in favor of BYU. I'm going to lead on fact here. I think BYU is good to make at least one more three than Alabama. They might not shoot as many as Alabama, but BYU has been more efficient. That, too, matters. That helps the points per possession number you just brought up. I'm leaning fact here because BYU has been so good and lights out. They have more quantity of good shooters than Alabama does. Alabama's threes largely come from about 3 guys. BYU has, what did we document, 8 different guys that are capable of stepping up and confidently knocking down a three-pointer.
Yeah, there's a lot. When BYU gets to 90, if BYU gets to 90 points, I look, how many times did they do that? And when they did that, how many threes did they make in that game? The average is 13.7. Like, to me, this is, if BYU can slow down Alabama a little bit, they don't have to make a gajillion threes. They definitely have to make 10 plus, I would think. I don't see a scenario where BYU makes fewer than 10 and beats Alabama. They have to do what they do. Our brand of basketball is what we've been hearing from this team. That means they make 10 or more threes. Or do you just straight up outshoot Alabama? Like, it's a run and gun, up and down, like toe-to-toe. Both teams are shooting 40% from 3, 50% from the field. If you have some combination of that, certainly it gives you a better chance. But BYU is capable of playing various types of games and winning. We've seen that. This is one of BYU's toughest challenges yet. This would be the best win on the season for a million reasons, not only who BYU's playing, where they're playing, the situation, but Alabama itself, to me, would be the best win of the season of any team BYU's already beaten.
No question. You bring up a subtopic within BYU and the way that they play and win games. Can they beat Alabama if they don't shoot the three well? Or is Alabama's size and physicality inside too much? To me, it feels like BYU has to shoot the three well.
I don't see a scenario where BYU makes fewer than 10 threes and wins this game. unless Alabama can't buy a bucket and they're just super cold and they shoot 38% from the field, 25% from three, BYU rebounds really well, the Cougars don't turn it over a ton. There are scenarios where that could happen, sure, but I just don't, like, of all the scenarios that Dr. Strange is going through in his mind, what's the one where BYU wins when they make 6 threes? There's probably one out there.
Listen, we did hang out on Bleecker Street near the Sanctum Sanctotum or whatever it's called.
Santorum.
Santorum, okay.
You act like you don't know, so I look like the nerd, but I see what you did there.
Yeah, so we'll have to check with Dr. Strange on those, but it feels like BYU's got to shoot the three well. It also feels like, Jarom, BYU has to match up and be physical on the glass with Alabama. Fact or fiction, BYU out-rebounds the nation's #1 rebounding team.
Ooh, this is an interesting one because I think that BYU has to lead in rebounding to win this. So I'm gonna say fact, because that, to me, I don't see how BYU loses the rebound battle and wins. But I'm going to give you this. BYU has a better rebound percentage overall than Alabama. The reason they average so many rebounds per game, 42.3, is because they shoot more. They have more tempo, more shots. They average like 64 shots a game, Spence. So they are a great rebounding team, but BYU by percentage, relatively speaking, is better.
It's the offensive glass that really concerns me with Alabama. They just create so many second chance opportunities. And we've talked about it ad nauseum. There is nothing to me that hurts a team more when you fight so hard to get a good defensive stop, then you give up an offensive rebound, and an easy three or an easy bucket happens after that. Those are so deflating, and Alabama thrives off those. They live on it, and they demoralize teams that way. It's what they did to St. Mary's. They just really got after it. So
St. Mary's couldn't get second shots. They couldn't hit threes.
Yeah.
Tempo was too quick for them. Yeah, it was tough.
So BYU's got to obviously counteract some of that and do exactly what St. Mary's did not do. This one's tough for me. I'm actually gonna say fiction here, and I don't think it's gonna be a big margin though. Like Alabama might win the rebounding margin by 2, but for me, like that offensive glass number is what I'm looking at. Can BYU limit Alabama to fewer possessions on the offensive glass? If they do that, then I don't think it matters who wins the overall rebounding battle as long as it's close. It just can't be, to your point, like a wide margin.
Yeah.
Alabama can't win this thing by 10 or 12 rebounds.
And watch Richie Saunders. He had 6 offensive rebounds, second most in an NCAA tournament game in BYU history in the last game against Wisconsin. Next up, Richie Saunders will outscore Mark Sears. Fact or fiction?
I just don't think Richie's going to take as many shots as Mark Sears. And Alabama relies on Sears way more than BYU does Richie Saunders to go and be like the guy. So I say fiction there. I think Mark Sears will score more points than Richie Saunders, but I don't think it matters, Jarom. I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, and both teams' benches are great, and you have a bunch of dudes that kind of average double figures. So I don't know. If Mark Sears goes off, I think it's going to be tough for BYU unless Richie goes off too. I don't think it comes down to those individuals, though. These are two great teams. And, yes, Mark Sears is an multi-time All-American. Like, this is a great college basketball player.
I mean, he only averages 2 points more per game than Richie Saunders.
Yeah, and he's not nearly as efficient.
Exactly. He takes way more shots.
40% shooter, that's kind of a low number. He was like the last one to get out to their shoot-around yesterday, by the way. Just kind of easing into it, waking up. Like, it was just kind of a slow build to get into the practice. I expected him to be like the leader out there, and maybe he is in the middle of practice, that 15-minute portion when the media watched. Maybe they're just throwing in the towel so they don't reveal anything. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know if I pick one here. I don't know. Fact. Richie will outscore Mark. Great.
By the way, Richie shoots like 9 or 10% better from the three-point line than Sears does.
Oh, Richie's like nearly 50%.
It's
three the last
incredible.
10, 15 games.
Yeah,
crazy
so
good.
We might just be standing here tomorrow talking about how Richie Saunders took 5 fewer shots and had more points than Mark Sears.
I kind of love that we don't know the way that BYU could win a game. They can win a game a bunch of different ways. It means that when stuff happens that doesn't go your way, you can respond in a variety of ways. We've seen it throughout the season, which has been awesome.
You brought up the BYU bench and the Alabama bench, and we have documented that both are very deep and balanced, and both have the capability to put up big-time numbers, bringing some guys off the bench. So, fact or fiction, BYU's bench outscores Alabama's bench tonight.
I say fiction. Here's why. I think the starters for BYU need to lead the way. You need Richie Saunders. You need Yegor Demon to continue to play at a high level. Yegor's got to have another great game for BYU. I think Trevin Nell's got to knock down a couple of threes. Keba Keita needs a couple of putbacks and that kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. It'd be great if Foose and Dallin Hall get in that pick and roll game and they put up 20 combined together.
Sure,
Trey
but
Stewart
what
down.
can that pick and roll game do against Alabama's size and physicality?
And second unit. We'll see. We'll see. But I think the starters need to lead the way for BYU tonight.
If we're just asking straight up, can BYU's bench outscore Alabama's bench? It'll be close. I actually am going to lean fact here. I think that BYU, because they have so many capable three-point shooters, like what does Dawson Baker do? Does Dawson Baker come in and knock down 3 threes?
Yeah. Now that he gets to be on the bench with the team, I think he'll have a real impact on this game instead of just being recorded in the locker room.
Does Dallin Hall knock down some big shots and as part of that connection with Foose? Does Mihailo Boskovic come in and drill a couple of threes that are big time? Trey Stewart's been knocking down threes.
We never really know, which is kind of fun. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we've seen it before in different ways.
So I'm actually going to lean fact there. Maybe Alabama's starters are the guys doing the majority of the scoring, and it's BYU's bench that provides that balanced scoring, and the bench for BYU outscores Bama's bench.
Okay, next up, both Sean Farnham and Jeff Chapman mentioned that turnovers are key. BYU needs to limit them. So BYU have fewer turnovers than Alabama tonight. Fact or fiction?
I'm answering with my heart on this one. Fact. Because I feel like it'll be absolutely devastating to BYU's chances of winning this game if that is not the case. Jeff Chapman, Sean Farnham, you talked about it. Both referenced that BYU has an opportunity to turn Alabama over. They can get a little loose with the basketball. So can BYU at times on the guard line with Yegor Demian and others. However, if BYU can win this category, then their chances to win the game, understandably, get an exponential boost. So I'm picking with my heart here. Fact, BYU will have fewer turnovers than Alabama, and the pressure that Will Voigt's defense on that staff for Kevin Young ramps up, and they're going to create some weird scenarios for Alabama and take advantage of this.
Yegor Demon has to play well again for BYU. Dallin Hall has to take care of the ball again. Yegor had 8 assists and 1 turnover against Wisconsin. If he has that tonight, I'm feeling great about BYU's chances in this game. Dallin Hall, again, needs to do it. Both average 12 a game. Both average 12 a game. I'll go fact. BYU needs to have fewer. Yeah, they will. Yeah.
Let's push to the midway point of the game, halftime specifically, and that halftime score. Whoever leads at the break, fact or fiction, will win the game.
I don't think it comes to fiction. I don't think it matters at halftime per se, although in the last 2 games, BYU built a nice halftime lead that they were able to sort of hold on to.
Yeah.
And they lost those second halves in those games, but it didn't matter because they did a lot of their work in the first half. I'll say fiction because it's more about 5 minutes left in the game for BYU. BYU is 26-0 when leading with 5 minutes left, and they've won 54 in a row when doing that. This year they're 23-5 when leading at halftime. So that hasn't mattered as much as 5 minutes left. The 2-minute left thing, while you're talking, I am going to look it up in the notes if they have the 2-minute thing.
Okay, so BYU,
they do not have it in the notes.
BYU has been so clutch, to your point.
Yeah.
Okay, did you say 26-0?
Yeah.
When they have a lead with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, and they've won 54 in a row, 68 of the last 70. BYU holds on to the lead.
With 2 minutes to play when they have a lead, I want to say it was like 98% of the games over the last 5 years, which is an insane number, right? Because BYU's been in a lot of close games, even this season.
Yeah, in the Big 12, this ain't the WCC, dog.
I'm going to say fiction. It doesn't matter who's leading this game at halftime, as long as it's not a 12 or 14 point. I mean, this game's out of hand early. Like, obviously, that really, really hurts your chances. But if this is a close game, Alabama's up 2, BYU's up 2, it doesn't matter. Like, fiction.
BYU could overcome a 2-point deficit with 5 minutes to go, too. It doesn't mean they're going to lose. Just if they're leading, they have won. Okay, last but not least, BYU goes to the Elite Eight for the second time in program history and the first time in 44 years. Fact or fiction?
Fact. And I'm leaning heavy on superstition. Did I do exactly 81 push-ups this morning? I did. And 81 sit-ups?
Nice.
You bet. I did exactly 81. Have I been doing that all week? Yes, I have. I'm not typically superstitious, but I'll take any good vibe I can get.
Here's what I love about this game. It's not a 7-game series. It's one game. BYU needs to be better for 40 minutes tonight. Maybe the blue goggles are on. I don't know. Put them on. Fact. Let's go. BYU's got to win today. They're going to win tonight. Come on. Come on. Let's go. I'm hoping. I'm praying. I'll do 81 push-ups later, too. Come on. Because I did 0 this morning.
81.
Unlike this guy.